We are live, Dan. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, this is so exciting. Welcome to QueerCast.
thank you
And
so much for having me.
oh my gosh, when you said that you would come on the show, I was ecstatic. Um, I met Dan on email, and his book had just come out.
Oh, there she
Become
is. Oh, that makes
Becoming
me
a
so
Queen.
happy.
Yeah, and up in the corner of the screen, we've put the picture of your book. I mean, if you
Oh,
and by the way, we have this book to check out here at the center in our library, and look, it's already been.
oh, as an avid library user, I get such joy when I see the little, forget the official name of those tags, those
Oh,
nice.
I know, and you know, Dan, I didn't know about you until you reached out to us. How did you find out about the center?
Yeah, I was just looking for places. I had done a little donation drive with friends and companies that I'm connected to of ways because I wrote a book, and then you think, so many books come out every day, and I'm like, I just really hope that somehow it finds its way to the LGBTQ kids that I and people that I wrote it for. And I wonder if it's going to do that. And then I thought, well, why don't I just give it to them? And cut out the middleman. And so I did a little bit of a book drive, and then was just looking at states where I have a personal connection, or states where, I mean, there are so many unfortunate legislations that are happening. So I looked at states
Mhm.
that were facing kind of book bans, things like that. But I have family connections in Wisconsin, as we were chatting about before.
Yeah.
My family has a little cabin in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, and that's where my grandma grew up, where I spent many, many, many
Uh,
wonderful summers when I was growing up just over the lake in Michigan. So I just looked up, I think nothing more sophisticated than a Google search of LGBTQ groups in Wisconsin. And I found you all, and I'm just so happy that I did.
yeah, and so are we. We were thrilled, and that's what my boss said to me. How did he know about us? And I said, I don't know, but we're getting around.
You're getting around? Yeah, you got good Google results.
Yeah,
Right up
yeah,
there.
it's so cool. And then just kind of just chatting a little bit back and forth, and I thought, oh man, I have to have him come on QueerCast. I wonder if he
Oh.
will. And you said yes, and we're so happy.
Oh, I'm just so delighted to be here. You all do such just incredible and such expansive work. You
We
really you
try.
stay busy.
Yeah, we cover 11 counties.
Yeah.
And if you go from Madison and then come all the way across and go all the way over into Minnesota, we're the only center. And so we
Wow.
try to cover all those counties. And um, my wife is a fundraising director here, and she just started, but she's trying to get some grants so that she can spread out to different counties to give us some money
Wow.
to be able to do that. But we try to be expansive, and sometimes it feels like it's slow, but then you wake up and you think, oh my god, people know who we are. you
Right.
know so
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you know I told Joe tonight, I said I have to be really careful not to do a spoiler alert and
I know
talk
this is
about
my perennial problem when I talk about my own book. It's not spoiler.
that's
So you and me both, we gotta.
yeah. So if I start to say something I shouldn't say, shut up. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Right. Well, it's right beyond
I'm
my
not going. I'm gonna let you tell a lot of what you feel like is okay. But first thing I want to do is introduce Dan. So Dan, can you tell us about you? I want to tell people. Let me be able to say this. Dan is a drag queen, Carrie Dragshaw, and so he has not written about something that he knows nothing about. I mean, you were doing drag before you ever decided to write the book, right?
Big time. And drag was really the impetus to write a book.
Yeah.
It was I started doing drag a bit accidentally. For a while, I called myself like the accidental drag queen, because I dressed up about, it would be 7 or 8 years ago. I dressed up for Carrie Bradshaw for
Hmm.
Halloween. Um, and I was very excited about it. Like, I'd always wanted to be Carrie, and this was finally the year that I had enough courage to put on the tutu. So I made sure that it was the perfect tutu and everything. And I was really, really excited. And I posted a picture of myself as Carrie Bradshaw on Halloween, not thinking one single thing about it, thinking my
Yeah.
friends would see it. I had probably 100 people on Instagram that followed, friends from school kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and somehow that picture went crazy viral in a way that I, still don't understand how something like that happens. And the next morning I woke up and I was looking at my phone. I'm like, what? I mean, comments in Japanese, comments from HBO, and one from Sarah Jessica Parker. And I was like,
Whoa.
what is this is crazy. And so the next day I posted another pic, just one. You're out with your friends on Halloween, you take a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
So I posted another one that me and my friends just kind of playfully took on Halloween, and that one too just blew up. And people,
Wow.
were like, I hope you do this forever and all these things. And I'm like, do what? Like, it's just Halloween. But this was October 2016. And so it was right toward the very end of the presidential election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And it was just an intense time on the internet. I mean, it's hard to even think back to that time, but it was just
Yeah.
heavy, and it was starting to think like, what is this? Could this actually happen? And then when what happened, I was like, you know what? I am going to create a little corner of the internet that is only positivity and love. It's just like,
Nice.
I don't know how to react to this situation other than to just spread love, just like shower the world with
Yeah.
love in the way that I can. And I've been given some little gift from the gods of internet algorithms. And so I bought my other favorite Carrie Bradshaw costumes. I gave her a little name. I started taking kind of the caption writing more seriously. And Carrie Bradshaw was born. And
Oh,
I always thought like, oh, I'll do a few outfits and then pack it up and give people something to smile about during this intense time, but then, go back to my job and like my adult responsibilities. But it was just so rewarding for me. It definitely unlocked a creativity in me, that I thought, why stop? And it was also on a gender expression side, was just so rewarding to finally be embracing kind of the feminine side of myself that I'd been so
right.
afraid of for so many years.
Yeah.
So I just decided to keep doing it. And all the while, I really enjoyed writing the captions. And the captions are sort of, for anybody who watches Sex and the City, they're sort of a play on her classic, I Couldn't Help But Wonder, but a bit modernized. And I take them really seriously. And
Hmm.
people were starting to connect to the captions. And just, it meant remember the day that someone, people screenshot things on Instagram and post it on their story. And I remember when someone screenshot the caption and didn't even show that it was a drag queen. They just screenshot the caption and were like,
Wow.
oh, I really, connected to this. And it meant so much to me. And I was like, you have to listen so often. I don't know, so often in my life, I won't generalize, but I'll have that feeling of like, wow, that means a lot to me. But then, move on. You're not a writer. You didn't go to school for writing. Just like, don't. But I was like, you know what? Maybe this is something to explore more deeply. This clearly meant a lot to you. Why shut out that voice? Why not
Right.
try to pursue it?
Hmm.
So that's when I started pursuing writing more earnestly. And it took a lot of practice and learning and a lot of amazing teachers and about 6 years of trying.
Yeah.
But it resulted in this book. But yeah, the long way of saying that drag kind of unlocked just a broader desire to for creative expression and for just listening to my intuition a little bit more
Mhm.
rather than, thinking myself out of things.
Yeah. And you were writing for magazines and doing articles and stuff before you decided to pursue the book, right?
Yes, yeah. So I mean, one part, I do a little bit of writing in my kind of professional day job, and I always liked that. And then when Carrie Dragshaw started, kind of getting attention in a way that is
Mhm.
still like, what? How lucky am I?
Yeah.
Feel like the
Yeah.
Cinderella of the internet. It's like I won a lottery that I didn't even know I entered. Um, and yeah, and then I started because I just loved the writing side of it. I loved, um, I don't know, I think I've wasted a little bit too much energy in my life on some of the wrong things, some of the shame and some of the guilt. And so this drag character, I
Pretty
was able to
normal.
write these captions that, maybe in a small way could help people skip past a little bit of that and have the
Yeah.
confidence that I wished that I had.
Yes.
And so I got the opportunity to write in, just different articles and different longer form captions. And it's just been such a treat to, even connect with one person with the writing, let alone, how many people have seen the Carrie Bradshaw stuff and now the book audience. It's just been such a fun adventure that I never forget that it all started with this Halloween tutu. I'd
Yeah.
probably just be working away my regular job. I had a job that I like very much.
Uh-huh.
Had this not serendipitously happened.
Is that does it have anything or does Mark have anything to do with doing this little number at school? And went on from there much later, but it makes me think of Mark.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I still love just hearing people say his name. It's so sweet. Yeah, I mean, Mark's experience with drag is definitely, he's obviously a lot younger than me. I wish that at 17 I was experimenting with, or 16, I was experimenting with drag. It took me until 34, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
still
so
not too late.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely with Mark's journey to becoming a queen, his version of a queen, I definitely drew on. I think I had so much tension in my early drag where it was like, this is uncomfortable. I don't want to be doing this. And I still have those voices in my head of like, you're too feminine, you're too much, you're too weird. Forget about the feminine. This is just weird. Like all those voices
Yes.
coinciding with, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I feel so pretty.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I love this. Oh my gosh, the makeup. And so I tried to, I mean, he's a little more frenetic than I actually am, hopefully. Um, but I tried to capture that tension where it's like part of you is loving it,
Hmm.
part of you is terrified of it. And which part do you listen to?
And
And
you don't listen. The other part that's terrified of it is listening to other people's voices and not
yes.
yours.
Yeah,
You know.
totally. Or making up. I mean, a big thing in my own life was making up other people's voices, like projecting my own insecurities onto other people's perceptions of what I was doing.
Hmm.
And of course, I mean, I'm a man who dresses up like a female TV character on the internet. So I've certainly heard plenty of perspectives that are, it's not irrational to think that some people aren't going to approve. Um, but there are also a lot of voices that like I just totally made up. I'm like, oh my gosh, that person is going to think it's so, or especially professionally for me. I was like, oh my gosh, my boss is going to think I'm at absolute loony bin. Like they're not going to put me with respectable clients. Like they're going to think this is so weird. And like, no, they loved it. They think it's so cool that I have this creative outlet that connects with people. And
Nice.
so that happens with Mark a little bit too. I mean, it's we live in the world that we live in, so there are, actual voices of disapproval for drag.
Sure. Yeah.
But then there are also, the voices, the insecurities we project onto people. But yeah, I'm so happy that you saw kind of that parallel in my little journey to drag with Mark's.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, and with Mark loving how it felt, I was like, wow, wait a minute, I feel really
Yeah.
good here with just doing the one for school. That kind of helped him to recognize that I kind of like this,
Right.
you know?
Right. And I think there are, like, you sort of, if you don't quite have the courage yourself to, like, I'm gonna do drag. Like, if you don't
Yeah.
have that in you, um, so I think there are a lot of examples of people kind of stumbling to drag, or, doing it in secret. I had an older sister, and I would, sneak in and put on her pretty dresses, and but be terrified at the same time, like not
Yeah.
understanding why I wanted to do this. Um, so yeah, capturing that sense of, for him, another kind of similar to me, like he was asked to put this dress on to be part of the talent show.
Hmm.
He didn't do it. He probably didn't have the gumption to do it. But once he did it, he realized, like, oh, it really is tapping
Whoa.
into something. But then it takes him, a really long time, years to, and
Mhm.
that was another thing that I wanted to show, is that, it's not necessarily always like a movie scene where you put the dress on and you find out that you're a queen, and then death drop to the closest LGBTQ safe space.
Yeah.
uh, no, sometimes it takes you a really, really long time to come to grips with what that means, to have the courage to do it yourself without, someone asking you to. So it
Yes.
takes him a while, and he even kind of forgets about the dress for a little while, because he kind of has to repress that idea, because it's a little too much for 15-year-old him. You got to wait till he's
Right.
17 and gets his new boyfriend.
Yeah. When he gets a boyfriend who appreciates it, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that was another thing I wanted to show, is like, you get to it, a big part of yourself, but also, all it takes is like a couple encouraging voices, which is why, I mean, LGBTQ centers mean so much to me, and have been such a big part of my own journey. But I think one of the things that you learn in life is, like, you don't need the whole world to be on you just need a couple
That's right.
voices that
Mhm.
say, what you're doing isn't wrong, or like, this is actually awesome.
Mhm.
And all you need is just a little bit of that, and then your inner monologue can start to sound a little bit more like that person, rather than, the negativity that we so often
Yes.
get.
Yes. And you know what? We, when I first moved here, it was 7 years ago now that I moved here from Michigan, and the center was growing, but had a long way to go. We still do,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but we have a yearly fundraiser called "So You Think You Can Drag."
Oh my gosh, I
Eh,
love
Well,
that.
you need to come and
Oh my
drag
gosh,
with
I
us.
would love, we have to talk about this after, because
Yes,
I love that premise.
yes, and so what happens? We have people coming from out of state to compete for Miss Lacrosse, whatever year it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things that has happened, oh my God, it's so cool. You'll love this, is that we started having that, and we had a um a drag queen. She was just getting started. I mean, just getting started.
Yeah.
Um, and her name is a lot of shots.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, and she is phenomenal. And she what? There
Oh
she
my,
is.
oh,
There
she's
she is.
amazing. Oh my gosh, I need to reach out to her for makeup tips.
Yeah, oh, she's
She's
incredible, and she
gorgeous. And those
hysterically funny.
wigs.
So she won that year,
Ah,
and that kind of got her started in doing more and more and more drag. So now we have some really, really phenomenal drag
that's
queens from our
amazing.
area.
I
And
mean, she's a pro. Like, you don't get much better than that. Like,
I
she looks
know,
incredible.
and she just started like
Wow.
6 years ago. There
Oh
she
my
is.
gosh, and you can she just radiates. You
Oh
can
my
tell
god.
that she
Oh my
has
god.
such pizzazz and
Is
humor in her.
yeah, I'm just madly in love with her. And
Oh my gosh, a
so
lot of
she has
stuff.
started
That's
a
so
group
good.
called the Lacrosse Girls, Gurls,
Love.
and they put on a show here at a place called the Maine once a month. And then they also she talked we have a local like it's a bar I don't want to say bar. It's a coffee house, but it also food and drinks. and
Oh
and and
yeah.
she approached them and said, "Hey, I think we need some drag here." And so now in the summer it's going to be once a month, but in the cooler times there's a drag brunch, and the drag queens come out and entertain while people have brunch.
Oh,
And
I
then
love
there's a
it.
drag dinner and bingo
I love
in
it. Oh
between
my
two.
gosh, I love drag bingo.
Yes, it's at a place called Java Vino. Java Vino is so good to us. But I'm just telling you all those to just let you know it started like that, and they're all so good. We have a lot of people and a lot of talent in this little town of La Crosse. Now we are not like, we're not like New York or something, but
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
amazing
I
what we
love it
have.
though. And it's so essential also. I mean, I just think if I had, you know, growing up seen just a drag queen in I just think that would have been a very profound. I mean, I remember watching RuPaul on
Yeah.
VH1, and
Oh,
I
Joe
just
wants.
remember
Yeah.
thinking like, wait, there's another way. Like, you can play with this. That is so
Yeah.
interesting. And I think
Yeah.
if you see it locally, that's just so profound and also
Well,
just fun. Like, we
yeah.
always talk about, the
Should we
deep.
put your drag picture up?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, do it.
There,
There you
well,
are.
I need makeup tips from a lot of shots. I'm lazy with my makeup. I'm actually also just
I love
doing
it.
it,
I
plugging
love
myself
it.
in.
And you know what, Dan? Here's the thing that is so exciting because they are Minneapolis, um, and Rochester, and some of the other places in Minnesota. I don't even know how many people we have doing drag. We have, but I think of it as we are community.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it is
they
we.
have
Yeah.
they have constant shows several times a week at the
Right.
different bars and stuff. It would blow your mind. It's so
Yeah.
cool because to start from people who were new, and now we have some people who have been in it, or they should. I keep saying we like I'm doing it. I wish I was, but they have people that have been around a little longer, and there's a lot of like Miss Lacrosse is small Mrs. I think, and I don't know if she's still there, but she became Miss Mississippi Valley.
Well,
Um,
hello. Going
yeah,
on
I
to
mean it's
bigger and better things.
I know it's like, oh my God. I mean, and yes, we will talk later because I want you to come and take part in So You Think You Can Drag this
Oh, I
September.
think that would be so fun. I just
Oh
love that.
God, yeah. You want fun. You get involved with So You Think You Could Drag and meet some of these people.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
mean
still I mean, I am still because my drag is so specific and I post pictures and it's primarily writing is the drag.
uh-huh.
So I very rarely am like out and about in drag. And so I still consider like myself just this very, very raw amateur Hold on, my dog is using this to get into a little bit of mischief. Why don't you lay down, buddy? Hold on, let me
Okay.
fix one thing. I have a temptation that is way too close to him. sorry, sorry, queer cast viewers. You get a
Oh
little mini
no.
viewer though.
Quickcast
Um,
viewers love dogs.
he's he's making up
What's
his
your
mind
dog's
if he loves
name?
Queercast. His name is Charlie. He's
Charlie. Charlie.
he's
Hi,
very
Charlie. Look at. Oh no, I'm shy.
yeah.
That's
No,
too
he's
funny.
trying to eat
That's
something.
funny.
But yeah, I just love the sound of all of these events, and it's amazing, and it's amazing how it can grow from if people see one person doing it and doing it well and taking it
Yeah.
seriously, then that inspires them to do the same thing, and next thing you know, a somewhat small area has this bounty of queens.
It
I
is. And
love
you know,
it.
and I'm not even going to bring this down with a lot of people's stupidity, but for the war that's been declared on drag, and I was really worried when it first started, but you know what? There are a lot of people who are very supportive and love it. And
Yeah.
they can play their games if they want to, but we're not letting them stop it.
No,
You
no.
know?
And it is such a like it's such a diverse art form too. There are so many different kinds of drag.
Yeah.
The idea of banning drag, I don't even know if they know how kind of silly that sounds
I
because
don't think they
it'd
do.
be like banning the internet. Like,
I
of course,
know.
there are parts of the internet that I would not want my child
Right.
to go to,
Yeah.
but you can it's such a dynamic art form with so many different
So
purposes
yeah,
and
so joyful.
intentions. And it's so joyful. It's so joyful. I mean, this was years. It's so funny because when I started writing this book about drag, I had the thought, like, oh my gosh, by the time this comes out, because writing a book takes a long time, by the time this comes out, drag is going to be so run of the mill. There's going to be a drag queen in every church. Like, nobody's going to think one thing or another about drag. And now it's coming out in this time when people are really thinking a lot about drag.
Anything could run of the mill.
But I went to a kid's birthday party that had a drag queen, and this was like 6 or 7 years ago, and the kids loved it, and they
Yeah.
didn't have any it was just this
It was just
beautiful
fun.
person that was larger than life to them, read them
Yep.
story. I mean, it was just a beautiful interaction for everyone, and it
Yep.
meant nothing more than that to
That's
so
right.
it's just this it is so bizarre to me.
It is, and I'll tell you, if we just let the kids decide and make the rules, they don't understand all the hatred. They don't have
Right.
any hatred behind it. I mean, to
No.
them, it's just like the best, you
Right.
know. And we have had, and I don't know, if I'm sure other places do too, have kid friendly shows
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
last year after our Pride in the Park, they had two shows. The first one was I think at 6 o'clock, and it was kid friendly. The
Oh.
characters were like a lot of shots does Mary Poppins. Yep, there's
Oh,
Mary
I love
Poppins.
that.
And then Tenacious Eddie. Do we have a picture of
Oh,
Tenacious
that's a
Eddie?
great
Tenacious Eddie is a
photo,
drag
Tenacious
king
Eddie.
and did Lumiere. Um, I mean, yeah, it was really cool, and it was definitely kid friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their drinks were soda and juice. Their
Right.
numbers were all kid appropriate, and sometimes it just feels like people are fighting what they don't know. I mean,
Fighting
I
what they
have the
That's
utmost
exactly
love and
it.
respect for the queens everywhere, but especially the ones that I know because I
Yeah.
know who they are and what they're about, and I love them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I'm bound and determined that we're gonna do and have a lot of positive stuff. I've had them on here before, and I haven't had them on here for a minute. But yeah, I sometimes think that I'm gonna record a queer cast at the drag show, and
Oh,
then
I
and
love that.
yeah, and then have it on Queercast. Because I can't say to somebody, one of them is a middle school science teacher. I
Wow.
can't say, "Hey, get dressed up on a Monday after work and come on." But I'm thinking of some way that I can have Queercast live
Yeah.
and have them on here. But yeah, so you think you can drag is the Friday night after Labor Day?
I just love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And
You
I
you
mean,
know
I
I'm gonna
think
be getting a hold of you about that
yeah,
then,
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm desperate for reasons to return to Wisconsin and Michigan and get
It will
back to
give
my
you all the
Midwest
reasons you want.
Midwest love.
Yeah, heck yeah. And then we'll meet halfway there up by Sleeping Bear Dunes or something, and get
Oh,
ready.
now we're talking.
See?
Yeah, and
I
I
know.
actually have never I went to Saugatuck when I was younger, but I've never been there as an out gay person.
Oh, you would love that.
Also, like, have been dying to someday return to this place where I went, many summers growing up, that I kind of vaguely knew was known as a gay mecca.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh,
never
yes.
actually got to experience that side of it.
See? You would have to, like, just do a whole trip
A
thing.
whole Midwest tour.
Heck yeah.
I think
Heck
so.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I could sit here, honest to God, I could just sit here for hours and talk to you.
I know,
Um,
same. I
but
think
I
I think
but I
this is the
wanted
start
I
of a
wanna
beautiful
talk about
friendship.
the book. Yes, I agree. I agree. I just instantly felt like I knew you. Um, but I want to tell people about the book. So,
Oh, I would love to.
people need to get out there and buy the book and read the book. And I have to tell you something. I'm a thrift book addict.
Oh, same.
Well, guess what? An
Truly a problem.
an ad came up tonight for becoming a queen
No
on
way.
thrift
Oh my
book.
gosh, that makes me so, as a person who has, my apartment is overflowing with thrift books. I
Yes,
just love thrift books. Oh, that
I
makes me
do.
so happy
Yeah, it came up
that
tonight, and
it's
I was
even
like,
on there.
"Hey, oh my god!" Yeah, I take all my thrift books that I read, and I put them on a shelf out in our front lobby, and let people just take them for free. And
Oh,
we've
that's
got this
beautiful.
beautiful library, but um, those are all the books I've read. Michael
Yeah,
Connelly and Patricia Cornwell, and um,
yeah.
yes, and so thrift books, the mail lady even will come in and say, "Hey, I got a book for you," you
Yes,
know,
I know,
and
'cause
and
it's such
she
a
takes some of the free ones then. But yes, I opened up my phone and that's what I saw.
oh, that makes me so happy.
Isn't that cool?
Oh.
Yeah. So tell us, there's a million questions I want to ask you, but I don't want, like I said, to do a spoiler alert. Um,
Yeah,
but how I know that I recognize some of Mark in your story.
yeah,
And so what you kind of have told us, how you ended up writing the book, but
yeah.
how do you feel like it parallels your life, or is it just kind of the start of it, sort of does, or tell us about
Yeah,
your book.
yeah. Well, it's a really good question. And so I'll give the like 10-second what the book is about, just in case someone hasn't read it yet. But it's
Right.
about a young guy who goes through some really tough family stuff and heals himself through drag. And so, the beginning is definitely there are there are parts in he has kind of a romantic journey in the beginning of, being with the wrong guy and then finding the right guy, and a guy who, he has this older brother who is wise beyond his years. And when he's sad about losing the first guy, his older brother says, the right guy isn't going to make you want to be less of yourself. He's going to make you want to be more of yourself.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a lesson that I've learned in my life is, putting my energy toward the people that celebrate you and want you to be more of the things
Right.
that you might even be a little bit afraid of. But the book itself isn't, there's so many little parts that are inspired by conversations I've had or experiences I've had. And the book deals in some heavy topics
Mhm.
that I've had experience in, but the specific plot points of the book are all fictional. And
Okay.
what happens to Mark didn't happen to me, thankfully. Um,
Yes.
and but what Mark goes through in the second half of the book, um, it's while it's not autobiographical, there was something really, really specific that I was trying to capture was the healing power of drag.
Mhm.
I think, so often drag has so many benefits, so many
Yeah.
amazing benefits.
Yeah.
Um, there's the self-expression, there's the creativity, there's the, embracing all sides of your identity. But the most powerful to me individually was that in some sort of magical way, it started to just fix things in a
Mhm.
really profound way. Just kind of it went like insecurity by insecurity, and it just started healing things, healing outdated ideas and shame and guilt. And that's really what I wanted to capture with the second half of the book, was to show that drag can heal so much and show what I, even on a bigger picture level, I really wanted a book where LGBTQ identity wasn't the source of the problems, but
Mhm.
was the solution to the problems. Because Mark has a lot of problems and quite tragic problems, but the problems don't have anything to do with his identity. The
Mhm.
solution has everything to do with his identity. He would not have healed himself were it not for the palliative effects of drag.
Yeah.
So I just really wanted to show like the positive side, because every one of my friends, every LGBTQ adult I know, coming get it's amazing to be queer. I haven't met a single queer person who would trade it for anything in the
I
world.
know.
And like,
Right?
the older you are, the probably the more, there's probably a correlation to, you probably had to deal with a little bit more struggle to get there. But oh my god, the number of times I'm out with friends and someone just randomly says, I'm so glad we're gay. Like, and this is a book for young, and I really wanted to show how, he starts getting into the community, but show how beautiful and healing that queer identity is. It's not some it doesn't have to be something to overcome.
Right.
It
Right.
can be something that actually helps you overcome. It can kind of become a superpower in its way.
Mhm. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
wanna
So
say
that's
that. I wanna say that somewhere. You're gonna see it on my Facebook, you know that, right?
well, I will like it and heart it and comment
All
on it.
right. All right. Do you think, um and I know that this is something that's probably hard to tell for sure, but then sometimes, you hear back from readers. Have you
Yeah.
ever heard back from readers how your book has affected them?
Yes, and it's been the most by far the most rewarding part of the process, because kind of like I was saying in the beginning, so many books come out every day.
Hmm.
And you just wonder, like, will it you have a certain person and a certain scenario kind of in mind as you're writing, or I did.
Hmm.
And I'm like, will they find it? Like, there's so many books. Will they stumble their way to this little book?
Hmm.
And I've received just the most rewarding messages I could have ever imagined. So the book deals with some really heavy topics, including grief and alcoholism, um, and I've heard from people who have had a tragically close connection to the plot of the
Wow.
book. And the messages have the things that, as you're, I was writing this for like 6 or 7 years, and while you're writing, you just dream of, oh my, it's what got me through all the drafts and all that. It's like, maybe one person can see themselves in this story and feel a little better because of it.
Hmm.
um, and so the messages about, like, you gave words to emotions that I had, but I couldn't quite express, or things where, like, we were talking. I just love reading. And there's nothing more rewarding than when you're reading and you just stumble on something that just feels true and that you've felt before, and you just feel so validated because you see it in the black and white of print.
Yes.
And so to get messages from people where it's almost surreal, where my book has done what so many books have done for me.
It's
It's just the
amazing.
most amazing feeling in the world. And to
Yeah.
it, especially, like, I have particular, my grandma was a teacher, my mom was a teacher, my sister's a teacher. I have a particular passion for connecting with younger people.
Hmm.
And so getting messages from teenage is just like, oh my gosh. And all while I was
Wow.
writing, I really was like, if just one person reads it, because for years it's just you and you and
That's
Microsoft
true.
Word.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, if just one person reads this and connects to it and to the emotions in it, then all these drafts, all these tears on my own end will have been worth it. So yeah, I've had the great fortune of hearing from people, and it is, there's
Wow.
I don't even know what second place in terms of the rewarding emotions in the journey would be, but it's like by far just so, it's why you do it.
Yeah. It's one of those moments for people that um they read something that touches them, something that connects with their heart and feelings that they've had before, and you just stop reading for a minute and just stare,
Mm, I
you
know
know?
that stare. Yeah.
Yeah, you know the
Yes.
stare, and
Yeah.
and it's what you do. I mean, you have to stop reading for a minute because 'cause you're feeling it,
Right.
you
You're
know?
feeling it, and sometimes I'll even be reading and I'll think, like, you're almost you feel vulnerable in a way, because you're
Yeah.
like, "How did they know that?"
Yes.
How
Yes.
are they are they seeing, like, are they here, like, how could they be in writers? So I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about,
No, I
people
know
that have
what you
done this for
but
me, but
but yes,
I
yourself
how
too.
they have a way of being just so perceptive,
Mhm.
and so precise in the language. So yeah, I just have so many absolutely beautiful moments with books like that, and it
Yes.
just fills me with, like, I truly can't believe it that someone might have an experience like that with something that I've written. It just means, beyond the world of me.
Yeah, and apparently they do because they're writing you and telling you that,
Oh,
You touched me,
Yeah,
you
I feel
know. And
there's
how
some.
did you know? How did
Oh,
you know this?
yeah.
You know? Oh, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. So here's a question for you then. You gonna write another book?
I think so. I mean, I'm definitely going to write another one. I loved the process of writing so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, the result of it is, this is best case scenario that it
Yeah.
actually got published and it's in the world and it's able to connect with people, and it's an occasion to like connect with people just like this as well.
And
So
that's your
that is
first book. You have
so
become a
amazing.
novelist.
You and I will definitely write another one because the I just really loved even the simple things about writing. Like, I'd be sitting in my little apartment and I'd like, okay, Mark's going outside and he's walking past a tree. Okay, so now I have to write something somewhat interesting about Mark walking past a tree. And so then I would go outside and I would look at a tree and it would be really vivid and really alive, and I would
Mhm.
have to look at it in the world is so fast paced and there's always a bajillion things going on, and when I'm actually walking past a tree in my actual life, I'm probably sending an email and on the phone and listening to a podcast and all these
Yeah.
bajillion things going on. So then when I'm writing, I go out and I look at a tree and I really look at it and I'm like, okay, what sound is the tree making? What does the bark feel like? Because in order to write something even halfway good,
Hmm.
it has to be very specific and very vivid.
Hmm.
And so I just loved that. And like to describe to describe someone sad, you can't just say, okay, Mark was sad. Like you really
Yeah.
have to think about, okay, what are the dimensions of sadness? What does it really feel like to be sad? And I found the process of writing just really fun and rewarding, and it made me feel like I was living more fully.
Hmm.
So I'll definitely be writing another one. We'll see if the gods of the publishing industry will smile upon me two times. But, all of that stuff isn't really in your control. So I'll put my best foot forward again and we'll see. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I'll
think with a
definitely,
positive response from this one that people are going to want to hear more from you,
fingers
you know.
crossed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
currently in the process of like I feel like a person going up to an attic looking around for things when I start writing again, because I'm like going up in my head being like, is there anything else in here?
Yeah.
Because in some ways I feel like it's all in there. Everything I have ever
Yeah,
wanted
there's some
is in there.
treasures in
Yeah,
there.
so I'm poking around, see it lifting up the dusty boxes, seeing if there's anything else in there.
I love that. I'll tell you, yeah, there are going to be people who are waiting for your second book.
Hmm.
Having read your book, they're going to say, "Okay, we want more."
Hmm.
You know, I mean, do you think that you would write more about a drag queen? Or, I mean, just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that I would write more about a drag queen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I definitely think I will write books where queer identity and drag is just the fabric of their lives.
Yeah.
And maybe not even as central as it was in this plot, because even in my adult life, um we're all gay, we're all doing drag, and we're all lesbians, and we're all trans, and we're all doing all the things, and
Yeah.
it's pretty matter of fact. It's not a big plot point, it for us right now. So I also think that I'll write books where it's kind of like that too, where
Hmm.
everybody just is what they are, and it's not the narrative suspense doesn't come from coming to terms with anything related to it.
Right.
Um,
It's part of who they
yeah,
are.
yeah, because I mean it's definitely been my experience in adulthood.
Yeah.
I certainly had a road to get here, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I also, I mean, I love drag. I love the small way that I do it,
Hmm.
and I love all the different forms of drag that are
Yeah.
in, because I think people especially get exposed to kind of like the obviously the most famous kind of drag right now is RuPaul's Drag Race, and like it's very
Sure.
beautiful. But there's I mean, in New York, there's so many different kinds of
Oh, it's
drag depending
amazing.
on what neighborhood you go to, and you've got bearded queens that are and you've got people just playing with gender however they want to play with it, playing with
Yeah.
their identity however they want to play with it. So I would love for the cast of characters like that,
Yeah.
who really people my actual life, to be in these future books, because I think it's fun to be able to give people a glimpse of that
For
joy.
sure, for sure. And when you think back about it, the whole pride movement was started by
Yes.
drag queens who were
Right.
tired of people's crap.
Right.
And they went in to raid Stonewall, and they're just like, "Mm-mm, not today."
I know
And they fought back.
we all owe so much to early trans, early drag
Yeah.
activists that
Yeah.
had had enough.
Yeah. I was like, "Okay, we're done with this now. We're not
Yeah.
doing this anymore." And
Yes.
I don't know what it's gonna take at this point now, because instead of police forcefully trying to come in and, raid the place and drag people out of there, now they're trying to do it with our government. It's like,
I
"What?
know. I know.
What?
All
Our
over the
government is doing this? Really?"
body. I know. I know. It is. It's so, it can be so discouraging when you look at the big picture, and then I mean, I just start to spin when I look at the big picture, but then then I zoom in and I have a conversation about all the amazing queens in lacrosse,
Yep.
and I go see my friends who are amazing queens in Brooklyn. And I was visiting a friend in Springfield, Missouri. And Missouri has a lot of legislators that are pro LGBTQ.
Mhm.
And I went to an amazing drag show in Springfield, Missouri, where there were people celebrating their college grad in just all walks of life. I mean, when I
I
was growing
love
up,
it.
it was only really mostly gay people who would go to gay bars, and this was like the most mixed. There were straight people, trans people, queer people, gay people, lesbians. Like it was just,
Isn't that great?
yeah, it was just great. And so I start to think like, oh my God, we're going backwards. We're hell in a handbasket. These people have too much power. And we have to stay politically activated for sure. I deeply believe in that. Um, but then I find so much inspiration when
Yeah.
I, zoom into communities and I see the work that's happening on
Yep.
the ground floor.
Yes.
And we can all do our little part in, because there's no more useless emotion than feeling hopeless,
Yeah,
than
that's
feeling like,
that's for
oh,
sure.
what, or just shaking your fist at whatever headline is coming that day. um,
Yeah.
but then we can, in our own little corners, we
That's
can
right.
make
Yeah,
improvement.
we can really literally just keep living.
Right.
Do
Right.
what we're doing, be
Definitely.
who we are. Our director, Alicia Shandemeyer, does a thing that she calls LGBTQ 101, and
Oh,
she goes out all over the place because we have a huge belief that education is part of the answer and
yes.
that ignorance is part of the problem. And so she goes out. I mean, she's gone out to the police departments, the first
Oh,
responders. She's even been to the nursing home to try
right.
to help people understand who we are. and
Right.
she's really, really good. I mean, not only is she good at doing it, but now we have people calling us and saying, "Do you think that your director could come and do that talk that she does?" You know,
That is
and I
amazing.
think that's huge. And she goes out. She went to the VA and did a presentation. Oh
Oh,
yeah, oh
that
yeah,
especially
and
warms my heart because my grandpa in Rockford, Illinois, worked at the VA. Yeah. So,
yeah. Well,
uh,
and I'll tell you what, there was a lady there that was not kind or friendly or
yeah.
accepting. She followed her out to her car,
Wow.
you know, but Alicia just kind of, you know, she just kind of keeps her cool and
Yeah.
yeah, she just held her ground. Alicia doesn't get ugly with anybody. She just says,
Right.
you know, well, you know, sorry that's the way you feel, but hopefully you know, she's hoping she presented something that will make this person think something else.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a huge part of what our center does. And we had a Pride
Right.
family picnic on
That's nice.
Saturday,
Oh,
in 93-degree weather.
93 already?
I know. Alicia and I were both like,
Oh my
"Mm,
gosh.
yeah, but we just try to put ourselves out there and get out
Yeah.
there and do as much as we can to be seen. We have a thing called queer coloring. And what we do is we take colored pencils and you know stuff out of coloring books. Some not very nice and some pretty good, but we have stuff for the kids, and we do that once a month now. And if people get to go sit at a bar or wherever we have it, we've had them at college bars, we've had it at Java Vino. Now we're having it at a place here called the Bronze Dragon, and it's a
Oh, I
non-alcohol
love that.
bar. Um, and we literally go in there and sit and color.
I
You
just
know,
love it.
people can
Yeah.
come and see those
Just
decadent queer
connect with
people
each other.
coloring.
Right.
And,
Right.
that's what we do. But
I just love it because it can be so it can be so heavy and really, so often some of the most beautiful healing are just those moments of connection and
yeah,
like being with each other. Can
yeah.
be as, radical an act as any kind of
That's
program.
right, and to show people who we are, and,
Yeah.
guess what? We're the same people who go get groceries and go to the
Right.
laundromat and, you know, cry over TV show. I mean, we're just
Totally.
people, you
We're
know,
just
and
people.
and so, um, I I wanna see your next book,
All right.
okay? And also, I do wanna say this, and Joe's over there saying to me, "You got 2 minutes," but
Oh,
I
well,
do
good that
wanna
we got a
say
timekeeper.
I know. She's ever so good at it.
I know, because we could gab.
Oh, I could sit here till midnight and talk
I
to you. I'm
same,
so
same.
serious.
Yeah.
And so, but one of the things that I do want to say is, and we have a lovely library. And it's a functional library. Got about 3,000 books in it.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, I mean, they're all cataloged. They're all barcoded. We have library cards. The whole works. And we have people coming in here asking for LGBTQ
oh,
content. So people are looking for stories that apply to the people they know and the
yeah.
people that they love. And there is, and right now, I think with some of the ugly things that are coming out there, they just want a story of people who just happen to be
Yeah,
LGBTQ. You know
right,
what I mean? It's
right.
not, "Oh my god, this is tragic because you're LG." No, they just want a
Yeah,
nice story about somebody who just happens to be,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So, think
yeah,
about that, Dan.
yeah, yeah. Wheels
And
are turning.
yeah, yeah, see there? And I'll tell you what, and, you know, we've got 1 minute left, but I wanna tell you that I'm hoping if I ask you to come on again, you'll do it.
Oh, I would love to.
Would you? Oh, good. I'm glad.
100%.
Good, because I'm not done talking to you yet.
Yeah, we've got more to chat about.
Heck yeah, we sure do. And we've got this September to even chat about, you know, I we got a lot to talk about. I'll be getting a
Yes,
hold of
we
you.
do.
Okay. Dan Clay, the author of Becoming a Queen. And let me just show it to you one more time. We have these.
Oh,
We
yes.
have these here at the library at the center. Come and check it out. Read it. For those of you who, like myself, are thrift, and like Dan, are thrift book
I
junkies.
know. Yeah, we could be
Yeah,
sponsored for thrift books, but
we
it
could.
is
And
really good. You can get like, the world's greatest literature for like $1.37.
I know, I love it.
It's
And you
amazing.
can get this on there if you say I don't buy
Yeah.
books anywhere but thrift books. There you go. They've got it. I saw it in the advertisement today. So yeah.
Hurry
So
over.
Dan, thank you so much. This has been
Thank
so much fun.
you. This
So
was
much
this
fun.
was just wonderful. And it really, I mean, the whole, you know, point for me personally of writing a book was connecting with people, and connecting
Yeah.
with readers in the way that we chatted about, but also just like connecting.
Yeah.
Just like your coloring
Absolutely.
book group. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
such an honor to be here with you.
Yeah. And thank you. It was such a pleasure and a joy and an honor to have you on tonight.
Yay.
All right. Well, I will let you go for now. My timekeeper's over there doing that kind of thing.
All right. Queer
But
Cast, that's a wrap.
oh, we have a comment first. Don't go away. So he says, thanks for doing this. I live out of the city, and this always helps me feel less alone. Keep fighting the good fight. Representation in fiction
Oh,
is so important. Thanks
well,
for what
thank
you
you,
do.
Kara.
Nice. Thanks, Kara, so much. All right. All right, then she's going to cut us off. And so I'm going to let you go.
All
And
right.
then
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to be
take
in touch.
Charlie for a walk.
All right. All right, Charlie. Now's your time.
He's ready.
All right.
So
Bye
fun.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.